I just got it to resume recording.
Okay. We're good.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Tucson-Pima County Historical Commission Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of Thursday, March 26, 2026 at call to order at 1 p.m. And I will go ahead and do roll call. Let me just put that we started at 1 p.m. Okay, Terry Majewski is here. Andrew Christopher.
Here.
Blake Houghton.
Present.
Joel Ireland. Not present. And Savannah McDonald.
Here.
Great, thank you. Okay, item 2 is review and approval of the 3/12/2026 legal action report / minutes. Could I have a motion to approve as submitted, please?
I'll move, Terry.
Okay, thank you. That was Blake?
Yep.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Savannah. Is there any discussion on that document? Okay, if not, I'll call roll. Terry votes aye. Andrew?
Aye.
Blake?
Aye.
And Savannah?
Aye.
Thank you. They pass unanimously 4-0. Item 3 is summary of public comments. Before I do this, I wanted to ask that if everyone could put their name and affiliation in the chat, in which case they're associated with, that would be very helpful for when we compile the minutes. So we'll just keep track of that then. Okay, so item 3 is summary of public comments. Desiree, would you update us on this? I received one, so.
Yes. So we did receive a letter from the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation related to item 5B on your agenda, 181 West Broadway, the former Arizona Hotel. It's related to the window glazing color and historic integrity. So it's a 2-page letter. I can read it if you would like, or if you want to wait till that item, we can do that. The person who submitted is also here, Damian Klinko. So I'll let you decide how you would like me to handle that, Terry.
Yeah, well, let's do it closer to the time so that it's all fresh in our mind and we can ask any questions and keep it all together. Okay. If that is okay with everyone, commissioners, are you all right with that?
Yeah, works for me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then Jason, did you receive any public comment?
There were no public comments received by the deadline yesterday.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, item 4, turnkey sculptures by Charles Alfred Clement at 949 East 35th Street. And Desiree, you're the staff contact. Would you like to give us a summary of this, please? And also, yes.
Terry, this is Joe. I'm sorry, I had trouble getting on a little bit.
Okay, you joined at 1:03 p.m., I believe. That's what I'm seeing. Okay, great, thank you. We're on item 4, turnkey sculptures, and Desiree will give us a summary. And we also do have feedback from HLS, yes?
Yes, they reviewed it yesterday. Yes, so this item is related to the turnkey sculptures by Charles Alfred Clement. The Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation requested from the Historical Commission a recommendation on the eligibility or ineligibility of the turnkey sculptures for listing on the National Register of Historic Places or local listing. The sculptures are public art that were created by Charles Alfred Clement and commissioned by the city of Tucson in 1969 for a federally funded public housing development. The sculptures were deinstalled and relocated to a different site between 1995 and 2006. And the question of historic eligibility isn't a part of a broader conversation related to the potential relocation of these sculptures or deaccession of the sculptures, which are currently part of the City of Tucson's public art collection. So we have a few folks here to present. So Damian Klinko from the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation is here to present the research that they did and a proposal, as well as we also have folks from the Arts Foundation, Yuyu Shiratori, Wylan Reyes is also here, and I might be missing some others. But this item was reviewed yesterday at the Historic Landscape Subcommittee. And let me just pull up my notes here. So let's see. So both Damien presented and Yu from the Arts Foundation have clarified the role in the conversation. HLS members discussed two main points. The question was, are the sculptures significant and do the sculptures have integrity? The members were in agreement that the sculptures have significance. There were some disagreements in the level of integrity that the sculptures have. However, HLS was in complete agreement that the sculptures should be protected and curated in a way that have some interpretive value. And they agreed that the current status of the sculptures was unacceptable. And I know Blake is, here. He's a commissioner and a member of PRS. He's also a commissioner or a member of HLS. So if he might have additional information to share. But yeah, that summarizes the comments I have.
Great, thank you very much. And go ahead and who will be our first presenter? Is that you, Demian?
Thank you, Chair Majewski. I'm happy to present first. Whatever is the chair's pleasure.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I will go ahead and share my screen. Oh, the participant screen sharing has been disabled. Is there any way that it could be shared?
Yes, Jason, I think you'll need to make Damien co-host and any of the other speakers as well.
Okay, 1 second. He is now co-host.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to share the same presentation that I offered yesterday to the Landscape Subcommittee. And I'll try to keep it a little briefer, but this is really about these works of art that were created between 1969 and 1970. There are 16 concrete sculptural elements that are part of the total work originally. They're known as the turnkey development, and the turnkey development, the housing project itself was designed by Edison and Goldblatt, AIA Architects. I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of what happened to sort of get us here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the artist and Charles Clement and his significance. I'm going to talk about the condition of the works. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about our proposal and sort of how we sort of see an opportunity to cure some of these major integrity issues that have come up. I also really just want to iterate that the Arts Foundation team, what's happened to these sculptures has happened over numerous decades. And the team from the Arts Foundation are relatively new. The Arts Foundation was part of was created out of a restructuring from the Arts Commission. And as part of that, there's really all new staffing. So I just also want to just clarify that what's happened is really there's no one at fault, but the system breakdowns have caused what's happened to occur. So just a little bit about Charles Clement. Charles Clement was an artist who was born in New York to French parents. He trained at the Franklin School of Professional Arts in New York. He went to Brooklyn College. He took additional coursework at the New School and then in France. In 1950, he moved to Tucson with his wife, Louise Clement, and they designed and built a home out on East Tucson, West Speedway Boulevard that's been destroyed. And they maintained a very robust multidisciplinary practice, creating lots of public sculptures, mosaics, ceramics, architectural ornamentation, and industrial design throughout Tucson. He died in 1981 while traveling abroad. A few of his major public projects that you would probably be familiar with are the University of Arizona Administration Building, fiberglass screen, which is on the Administration Building, the Noah's Ark sculpture, which I'll talk about in a second, which was originally created for the Catalina Foothill School District, and the Ark sculpture displayed at the Reed Park Zoo, and the Presidio Plaza Fountain, which has recently been restored by the City of Tucson, the Tucson Podiatry Building panel on Broadway and the Sunshine Mile, and again, a plethora of additional public works across the city. This is really what got us to these sculptures. The Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation is involved with Charles Clement in two significant ways. One, about 8 years ago, his family, of which he has a niece and a nephew, now he has a niece, who is still surviving and represent his estate. They contributed all of Charles Clement's intellectual property to the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation, as well as his archive. So the foundation has an active role in helping to manage Charles Clement's artistic and design integrity that's often integrated with architecture. As part of that gift, they later donated 50% of the Bondante House, which is the most significant surviving example of Charles Clement's architectural work, which they owned. It was built for his sister-in-law and brother-in-law. They donated 50% of that house to the foundation. The foundation purchased the other 50%, and we have since restored it. And we have had public exhibitions. We hosted during Modernism Week a retrospective of Charles Clement's work, and there is Charles Clement's work displayed publicly, displayed across the property. We create opportunities for the public to interact and visit, and even at requests. As part of that work, we did a survey of surviving Charles Clement public sculptures. The Noah's Ark sculpture was part of the city's art collection. It was housed at the Reed Park Zoo. Sometime around 2020, 2021, this sculpture was discarded by Parks and Recreation and the zoo without any documentation, without going through any formal process. And so this sculpture was lost, and that was only discovered after our inquiries last year. As part of that process, we also did a survey of the turnkey sculptures, which we'll talk about, and we were really alarmed to find the condition and some of the issues surrounding them. So the turnkey housing project was originally an 80-unit federal funded housing project. As I mentioned, it was designed by Mark Edson and William Goldblatt. It was a public-private partnership, so it was like many public housing projects. There was a private development component, and then there was using federal funds, and then eventually transferred to ownership of the city of Tucson. One of the key components to think about here that's really not clear is who actually commissioned. We don't know who actually commissioned these sculptures. Was it the developers, the architects? Or it happened at construction. So it's not exactly clear how Charles Clement was selected. But his work often would be integrated into architectural spaces. He was commissioned to create 16 site-specific works that were a single artwork that were scattered sort of throughout this development. And the project symbolized a major federal investment paired with local demands for civil rights, inclusion, and neighborhood representation. These are the sculpture models of a photograph. We actually have most of these sculptures as part of our archival collection, the Preservation Foundation. We have not all of them, but we have most of these models. So Clement designed this as a unified ensemble, as I mentioned. He was commissioned to create this site-specific sculptural work for the development. Excuse me, sorry. And it was conceived as part of the architectural and social fabric of the housing complex. And the sculptures really embodied Clement's mature artistic philosophy in which sculpture functioned as an environmental element rather than an autonomous object. And that's really important when it comes to the integrity issues. These are some pictures shortly after the project was completed of how these sculptures looked. They are cast concrete. They were sort of these monolithic forms. And again, there were 16 of them that were scattered through the development site. And I can come back to these pictures later if we have questions. Between 1995 and 2006, during redevelopment, the entire site was completely, most of it looks like it was eliminated or completely redesigned, and no longer looks anything like it was originally intended. We're not exactly sure exactly where it was located. The turnkey sculptures were removed from their original locations and setting, and there was no consultation with the Clement estate, the Clement family, despite the identifiable successor interest. No documentation to date has been produced demonstrating that the city followed its required relocation procedures, which is managed under this deaccession process. And there's no record of any formal review or evaluation of the work's integrity or evidence of deaccession or determination prior to what we call fragmentation. Following the removal of the sculptural ensemble was fragmented and spread out into a few different locations. Also, some of the sculptures were lost. So of the 16, only 13 have been found. We even found one last week while doing a window survey, and I'll show a picture of that third site. So the sculptures ended up at 3 primary sites. As part of some additional federal funding, an arts sort of small arts neighborhood arts center was established at 35th and Park Avenue, and 8 of these sculptures were relocated to that site. It only lasted a few years, and when there was no longer funding to support it, it was turned into some other type of housing, and then it was abandoned, and so it's been boarded up for 10 years. The second site, there were 4 pieces that were moved to Silver Lake Park and were scattered along a path. And the third one is at another city-owned site. And this is the current condition of these sculptures. So if you'll see on the left, that sculpture was hit by a car. We notified the city of Tucson 8 months ago about the condition. No one has gone to secure secure this work. Pieces are fragmented on the ground. Some pieces have actually gone missing since our notification of the condition. Other pieces are regularly used as bathrooms, and there are lots of trash. And I'll show you some other pictures that sort of show you the current condition. So this is the site. This is sort of the primary site where there are 8 of these Clement sculptures. Shortly after we notified the city of our concerns, it also became clear that the city's real estate department had plans to sell this site without any consideration at that point of the Clement sculptures. That has since been corrected, and sale of the building has been paused, I assume, till pending the resolution of these issues. There are also significant mosaics on the walls of this site, and there's been no discussion by anyone about those. Where our organization has not taken an active interest in those particular works, but it seems like this would be the opportunity to talk about the historic significance of those artworks as well. But there hasn't been any dialogue about what the plan is for removal or relocation of those, which is a little bit of a concern. These are how the pieces are now in the park. There's not any signage. There's no context. There's no information about Charles Clement or that these are even works of art. It's not really only through our survey and our work going out, we've been able to identify 4 additional pieces. The ones in the park have all been painted various colors that have nothing to do with the original design intent. And this is the one that we located recently. This is probably the most intact and complete individual work of the 16, which is on Silver Lake Road in front of this city-owned Department of Community Housing building that appears vacant. So since 2000, as I said, for more than a decade, Group 1 of these sculptures has remained in a city-owned vacant and boarded property at 36th and Park Avenue. During that period, the works have suffered continual damage. They've been repainted, and they've been continually deteriorating. And here's again a picture. They've suffered several distinct interrelated forms of harm. Elements of the original artwork are missing now. The remaining elements exhibit physical damage. The work has been completely decontextualized, and decontextualization we don't see as a neutral act for site-specific integrated work. It's a form of distortion. So combined, we really applied the National Register assessment. And I'll talk about that, but I just want to briefly sort of talk about how we got here. The City of Tucson, when something is brought forward like this, it goes to the Arts Foundation, and the Arts Foundation has a public committee of which the chair, Jim Glock, is on the call. The committee reviewed our request over 2 meetings, and because there was sort of these issues around historic preservation embedded, he suggested that this be sent to the Historical Commission Plans Review, or the commission at large, for a review and some insight. It's really our review, like individually, the individual objects some have integrity as fragmented objects, but in totality, we really believe that they've lost their integrity. So all of the things that we talked about, all 7 aspects of integrity, we believe have been impacted by what's happened. The integrity of location has been lost because they've already been removed from the original site. The integrity of the setting has been lost through the placement in environments unrelated to the architectural and social framework for which they were conceived. The integrity of design has been compromised through the fragmentation and loss of 3 of the original elements intended to function as a unified ensemble, and alterations to the surface, finishes, and physical damage affect the integrity of materials and workmanship. And collectively, we believe that these have fundamentally eroded the integrity of feeling and association. There is, however, there is a remaining association with Charles Clement, and we'll talk about sort of what our proposal or our suggestion to cure some of these issues are. So after all of this, and because of sort of what's happened and the sort of lack of any sort of oversight from the city over the last decade, we respected that the city return the surviving Charles Clement sculptures, removed already once, to the Historic Preservation Foundation for conservation, interpretation, and long-term stewardship. And our proposal is to install them at the Bondante House, which was designed by Charles Clement in 1956, is owned by the foundation, and where the works could be preserved and contextualized and would be publicly accessible with architecturally in an architecturally and historically appropriate setting. And it would ensure that the public works are cared for consistent with their artistic significance and restored to an environment that reflects the intent, integrity, and the legacy of the artist, and also can explain what happened to them. This is just a picture of the Charles Clement House. It's not located near. It's located in sort of north central Tucson, not south central Tucson. It's near Rosemont and Grant. And I'll talk about some concerns that the committee raised about that as well, or the idea of relocation. But this is after the restoration that the Preservation Foundation did. So the Bondante House is a mid-century modern residence. It's owned and stewarded by the Preservation Foundation. It represents the most significant surviving property associated with Clement's artistic and architectural legacy. We believe that reinstallation at the site would support restoration of the historic context, and more importantly, its association with the artist, which is really the singular surviving component of the integrity. The solution, we think, will help cure the diminishment of the integrity caused by all the things that have happened. And we also anticipate submitting a City of Tucson Historic Landmark nomination for the site in the coming weeks. So we've prepared a nomination. We're just waiting for some site plans to be completed. And that landmark designation would provide long-term protection and stewardship for both the site and the sculptures, ensuring that this not happen in the future. And these are just some pictures of other Charles Clement work that's on the site. And I just wanted to sort of share just some images of some of the other work and how it's being cared for now. I think that the committee, and I don't want to speak for them, but there was definitely concerns about the idea of removing artwork from a neighborhood that is not well resourced, and the impact that it could have on the neighborhood. There was also concerns about this idea of context and could it be relocated somewhere else, and sort of what would that mean? Again, I think it's more appropriate that I let the committee speak for them, but I do want to underscore that we really do understand those concerns. And our idea is not to we're not just proposing to come in and try to harvest artworks out of a neighborhood that has traditionally been disinvested. It's really, this is a direct result of actions that the city of Tucson took and did not take systemically over a 30-year period, and the resulting outcome and condition of the sculptures. So it's really our request. So, and I also want to stress that the committee yesterday, the landscape committee, they really spoke a lot about the significance of the sculptures, that they believe they retain significance because of their association to Charles Clement, and that they acknowledge that the loss of integrity because of all of the things that have happened, and the best way to find a path would be to find a way to reassociate it with Clement, either through that house or a potential similar site.
Okay, well, thank you, Demian.
And I'll go back and just land on one of the photographs of the artwork so you can sort of see them.
Okay. Commissioners, I think we should hear other folks that are going to present, but do you have any questions immediately for Demian, or would you like to wait? Anyone?
I do have one question, and that's either for Demian or any of the other speakers. The artwork you mentioned it being like site specific. Is it like the artwork itself that's site specific, or just like the arrangement of them or the curation of it? Or like was the symbolism in this artwork directly symbolizing something at that original site?
I think it's the answer is the first two. So it was very much about the composition of these pieces inside of a residential environment that collectively created this artistic work. And so the loss of the pieces and then the relocation to 3 different sites that are not here really had an impact on the ability of these to convey. And then since then, again, they've been painted, they've been damaged, they've been hit by cars. A whole lot of things have happened to them that's resulted in additional diminishment. But the site-specific nature of the work, it was for this site. And when the site was changed and removed, and then the works relocated, it no longer has that site specificity. So they are, in some ways, it's very hard to even justify or to say that these are really, they are fragmental works of Charles Clement. They do not represent a full work of Charles Clement. And
Got
certainly
it.
in their condition, it would be like if you took a painting and you chopped it, you cut it into 3 different pieces and you sent them to 3 different museums, and then you had people overpaint them, and then you still tried to represent them as works by a major artist. They just don't do that anymore. But bringing them back together, we believe, into a cluster, into a collection, and then finding ways to connect them to Charles Clement and to be able to provide interpretation in an environment that he designed would help to cure the resolution. It doesn't solve the problem because there are pieces that are lost permanently, but it would at least help get closer to, especially from a National Register perspective, we believe, a tighter association.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, any other immediate questions, or should we go on to the next presentation?
The next
About
presentation is still this topic?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Move forward. Okay, so who will be presenting next? Jim, will you be doing that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The desire on the part of the Arts Foundation's Tucson of Southern Arizona Public Art and Community Design Committee's session subcommittee to send it before the Historic Commission was to get some guidance with respect to how to treat this. We have not really met since we got the ball rolling to have the Historic Committee's input into our hand-wringing over the deaccession question that Demian and the Historic Foundation is proposing for us. So what we would appreciate is perhaps some insight from the Commission's perspective with respect to the proposals that are before you from the Historic Foundation. And our perspective, and again, we haven't met, so I can't speak to the subcommittee's perspective on this, and we will agendize it and look at it. But I have to speak somewhat in my own capacity as an individual, and that is it's, to me, it's intriguing to see that there are 2 other locations that we have these pieces located at, and so all of a sudden our deaccession discussion is expanded and perhaps gotten more complicated in that respect, and we should probably be considering those as well as these specific ones on Park Avenue. Secondly, I think we're kind of a bit I don't know what the term of phrase is I want to use, maybe a little possessive about public art and keeping public art in the public realm. And so we would like to see proposals that allow that. I think Demian rightfully pointed out a perspective that we have with respect to the area of the community that these were originally placed. Again, the fragmentation of these pieces is concerning overall, and for us to perhaps see if there are some remedies that can address that would be really helpful for us. So we have more presentation. We're more here to listen to what the Historic Commission's perspective is on this and the proposal that is before you, and we'll then get it agendized and wrestle with it an appropriately agendized and publicly noticed deaccession subcommittee meeting. So with that, I do have another subcommittee member here, Ann Lopez, I believe, and I'll perhaps ask if she has any additional insights she might like to share. But we appreciate our opportunity to consider this. I think the pathway to perhaps get this recognized from a National Register perspective is really intriguing and exciting, and so we certainly want to be partners with respect to their future and their future good standing. So with that, I'll see if I have a comment. Other than that, that's all I have necessarily to comment on at this point.
Great, thank you. Ms. Lopez, did you have something you wanted to add? You're on mute right now.
No, I believe not. I believe Jim accurately represented the dilemma that the committee faces.
Mm-hmm.
And I anxiously await your recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the foundation that wishes to speak?
Hello, this is Yu Shiratori with the Arts Foundation. Just following up on what Jim said, we're here because the committee had actively requested additional input from the commission, specifically about historical and architectural importance of the work. There were to second, what Jim has said about the importance of public art. There were committee members from Ward 5 who did voice that they are concerned of removing these public assets from the area. But yes, our purpose is to just sit and listen to the conversation, and then at the next subcommittee meeting, discuss what was presented here.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'd like to open the discussion by just saying a few things. I think the input that is being requested is really, what do we think of the proposal? But the proposal itself is linked to a couple questions. It acknowledges the significance of the parts of the sculpture, the sculptural ensemble. It makes, and to my mind, a pretty decent case for the lack of integrity because of things being moved and destroyed, and and the ability. I think we need to look at the ability of the sculptures as they are now to convey integrity. If you may all agree that they still have integrity, as they are spread out and disassembled in various ways. This doesn't discount their significance, and reassociating them would give it might actually be less susceptible to further damage to the structures. This shouldn't be a part of our consideration, but this, the city's financial challenges that are ongoing with many cities, but it saddens me to remove it from where it's located, because it has its own sort of accumulated interest and things like that. So, but I think we have to put on our sort of National Register caps and think, does it retain integrity, even though it is significant? And sort of the value, and really we're just providing, we're having a discussion, we're providing advice. It would be nice if we had some sort of approach that we all felt was the right thing. But if we have differing views that we can back up, that's also helpful to the folks from the foundation, the Arts Foundation, who are so carefully considering that, and we appreciate that. And the final thing is that I really feel that if the foundation does accept Deming's proposal for the Preservation Foundation, it's a really great example of collaborative work between entities in the community, and support for preservation, and sort of the funding that's needed to do some of the aspects of preservation. And I would welcome my years of experience on the commission and working with different arts groups has really fallen off in the last years, the last decade. And I would welcome, I do welcome that you approaching us and asking us for our opinions and our, well thought out opinions, hopefully. And I think that that's what we need to do is give our thoughts on that. So who would like to go first on the subcommittee?
I'd like to go first, Terry.
Okay, go ahead.
This I'm going to echo some of what I said yesterday. This was really hard. Yesterday this was brought to the Historic Landscape Subcommittee. And there's a lot here that we ended up talking about. And I think once the presentation was finally over, we ended up talking for another half an hour or 40 minutes on this project or this proposal. And I don't necessarily want to I don't know how much appropriate or what the appropriateness of my knowledge of that conversation influencing now what I say about the project. But I think ultimately what we decided from the historic landscape perspective is that these sculptures lack significance as individuals. They lack integrity as a collection because of all of the things that Damien said in his proposal. And the only potential that they have now in terms of integrity is through their association to this significant artist. And just thinking about the Park Service, the four treatments of historic landscapes, right? We can't preserve these sculptural elements. We can't restore them, right? We can't preserve them because they've already been removed from the site. We can't restore them to the site because the site no longer exists. And we can't reconstruct them because some of them have been lost. They've been damaged. The molds and models no longer exist. So what is left to us is rehabilitation. And I think that rehabilitating the sculptures by recommending the approval of this proposal is the only thing that we can do to respect the artist's intent, the design of these elements, to respect these sculptures in and of themselves. I understand that there is a community that is concerned about losing public art, but I think that that's why we have programs like the Tucson Arts Foundation, right, who is looking for and trying to appropriately treat different arts and help communities bring art into them. That's where I'm at.
Okay, well, thank you for that insight. And we care very much about the discussion that Historic Landscape Subcommittee had yesterday, and that's why I like to know what their discussion was, or in cases where they make motions on various cases. So thank you. Who's next?
I can go.
Okay, thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, I think I agree largely with your assessment, Blake. I think the only way to really rehabilitate them is to bring them back together as a collection, although incomplete, and to reassociate them with Charles Clement. I do have major equity concerns though about moving them from an under-resourced area or areas of town to a private residence, I guess. But I'm wondering if there isn't an alternate location if people were still comfortable with the city stewarding them. There's multiple public housing projects that have been built and are being built right now. And it might be worth looking at some of those sites to see if any of them would be appropriate to house this collection. I think that would at least address an equity concern, maybe not geographically, but socioeconomically. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's clear the city has not been good stewards of this. So I'd be hesitant to be trusting that they would be going forward. And I know that the Preservation Foundation would be excellent stewards of them. Some sort of compromise there might be to display these sculptures, or some of them, like in the front yard of the Bondante house, so that they're at least sort of in a quasi-public realm still. That might be a compromise I'd be interested in. But yeah, it's sad to see the state of them, and I'm grateful to the Preservation Foundation for really making a great effort to protect them and to tell a cohesive story about what they are. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Andrew. Joel or Savannah?
I mean, I can go. I agree with Blake and Andrew. I love the idea of them of collecting them and bringing them together, but have hesitation about the proposed location in terms of its public access or removal from that particular location of town. So I like your idea, Andrew, of if the city is building more housing projects, that maybe there's a good fit closer to the original location. That would be a really neat idea. That's where I'm at. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Joel.
Yeah, all the words have been said. It's exactly how I feel. I do have hesitation about removing them from disadvantaged areas, and putting public art in private hands. Somehow that strikes me as I've got to think that one through. I'm not sure I have an exact opinion, but it troubles me. So that's where I am right now.
Okay, I think to wrap up, I think I just want to echo Commissioner Houghton's comment that these sculptures lack integrity as individual objects, and really, unless they're reassociated together, and it still won't be the complete assemblage of these, taken care of, preserved, rehabilitated, and linked somehow back to their significance and integrity, as a unit, then there will just simply be interesting pieces of sculpture that are presented in a way that was not the intent of the creator. And so I think that the Arts Foundation Deaccession Subcommittee has a hard task, because we care about all the things. We care about public art in public places, but there is a responsibility for these items to be cared for appropriately. So your task is not easy. I totally recognize that. And so do any of you have any further questions? Damien, do you have a question, or does anyone from the foundation?
Yeah, I guess I have just a few small remarks based on some of the feedback. So first, again, everything about this is inoptimal. Like this is not the path that we would have chosen. This is a response to what we discovered and what we've continued to discover through this exploration of the condition and association of these works.
Right.
We didn't start out to say, oh, let's just go pick up some sculptures from the south side and move them to the Bondante house. This really came as an exercise in understanding what of these artists' works still survive. one of the people who's not here is Chris Bondante, who is the representative of Charles Clement's estate. And she's very concerned because ultimately, because there are missing pieces, no matter how these are displayed or designed, they're not Charles Clement's work anymore. So, if the community is going to spend limited public arts dollars to restore these works and find a new location for them, and then they're just sculptural objects and they're not really Charles Clement's work because they no longer align with the intent and the design is gone. That's just a fundamental problem that we don't have a resolution for. But I think to Blake's comment, there are no molds. We don't even have full documentation of all of them. So there is no way to recreate them. And even how they were set inside of the space isn't entirely clear. So there are key components that are missing in just understanding the integrity. We really felt that the Bondante house, because of its association with Charles Clement, was really the solution to provide the integrity, help restore the integrity that adds to their significance. So from a National Register perspective, if we listed the Bondante house on the National Register and these were there, these would be contributing elements. If these are just in a park or scattered or on a different site that aren't really associated with him any longer, we're not sure that they would actually meet National Register eligibility. We're also concerned about, frankly, the long range management of these into the future. If they're just moved to another location and in 20 more years, we're having the same conversation again because they haven't been maintained, that's problematic. Especially if they're not Charles Clement's works, they're just decorative objects now. So there's less of a concern of how they are treated as public works. So these are just complicated things. I really know the front yard, the issue around the front yard. Again, the Preservation Foundation, this is not a private home. This is a property owned by the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation. It's part of a land trust of 3 properties that we now own. We work to make those available to the public, to scholars. We had U of A students at that property just this week doing measurements and drawings and thinking about how to create opportunities for public engagement. But using the front yard where there is public accessibility and people can see them is part of our thinking about how we would install these and have interpretation available from the street so that people could really see them and understand them in a better way. And we are sensitive. And this is not, again, none of this is optimal. Like we're our organization, we don't charge in and say, let's just, start collecting what was once a public artwork and relocate it to somewhere else. It's really because of our active ownership of Charles Clement's intellectual property, his archive, and all of the different role that we have is sort of why we have taken such a strong and active interest in making sure that these are protected today, tomorrow, and 100 years from now.
Well, exactly. I mean, the fact that the family has entrusted the foundation with, the archives and many of the records of Clements, and also the fact that hopefully the Bondante house will be listed as a Tucson landmark, which links it back to the city as something recognized by the city.
And it would link it back to this committee so that any changes to that landscape or to the building in the future have to be reviewed specifically by this body.
So, because that's the way that the landmarks are set up. So it would receive, protection and oversight. And so I don't see this as, in response to Joel's comment, it's not going onto private property in the sense that it would go into the yard of a house that I own in Tucson or whatever, right? So, I think these are a lot of questions, but I think that the arguments or the discussion of why these things lack integrity in their current state, to my mind, is very strong. So I think we have to leave it up to the good minds of the people on the deaccession subcommittee of the Arts Foundation. So any final remarks from anyone on the foundation or questions?
I had one more.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just, will there be do you have a plan, like a site plan, or what these sculptures would look like? Is there a big yard in the back of the Bondante house?
Yeah, the
What's
Bondante.
what's the vision, I guess? I was
You know,
trying to.
yeah. So the Bondante, there's both a rear yard that has space to accept some of them and a front yard that has space to accept them. I don't think we've created the site plan because we're sort of not like we're not again the investment of resources. We'd have to be a relocation plan. We need to figure out how to treat these so that the paint can be removed and they can be restored to their original finishes. I mean, there's a lot of sort of supplemental work that's going to have to go on. We would definitely create a site plan, and because of the historic landmark designation that we're pursuing, we would actually come to you to talk about that plan before installation. So, there's already we envision a mechanism by which there is already community oversight into how this would happen and how the interpretation would occur because of that landmark designation. And really, the only reason that we haven't submitted the nomination is because we're just waiting for some site plan documentation. So the rest of that. So I mean, and as you know, every property the foundation owns is designated a local landmark, and we would not purchase or invest resources into restoring and maintaining and managing these sites and creating public access opportunities if we didn't plan on doing that. So that is part of our mission, is to protect them through regulation. And we anticipate doing, after that's completed with the city, we would anticipate doing a National Register nomination associated with the property as well. And these we hope would be contributing elements because of that association, where again they would struggle without that association to ever be listed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if there are no other questions, I thank everyone for getting together to discuss this very difficult case with many aspects and layers. And we hope to hear from you again on it in the future, just an update on what your decision is. And if there's any way we can provide further advice and so forth. So thank you very much. So, we have 3 more cases and we should probably move forward. Okay. I mean, if you want to close down and thank you for this PowerPoint to really show us the condition and things like that. So thank you everyone very much. Okay, let's move on to item 5, historic preservation zone review cases that we review under UDC section 5.8/TSM 9.02.0 historic district design guidelines and revised Secretary of the Interior standards and guidelines. Case 5A is at 746 South Osborne Avenue, SD 0225-0001/TC-RES-0423-04425. And again, the staff contact is Desiree. If you'd like to provide background, please, Desiree.
Carrie, this is Jason. I'll actually be introducing the background on this.
Oh, okay. It had, okay, I will change it to you then.
Yeah, not a problem. So this was a proposed project that came before the PRS on August 28, 2025, as construction of a new detached second dwelling, new 2-car garage, and a new pool house. At the August 28th meeting, the commissioners expressed the following concerns: the treatment of the carriage house, particularly the proposal to enclose it in a CMU wall, which hides its adobe expression. The other concern was suggesting rehabbing it from the inside to close it is not a good preservation technique. Third concern, looking at precedents of adobe structures in town and working with qualified professional engineers and adobe specialists to rehabilitate the building. And the last concern was to put a pause on the adobe building in terms of its current design. PRS would like to see it come back after making suggested changes. So the motion at that meeting was a recommended partial approval of the project with the following conditions. The applicant is to work with an adobe specialist and experienced structural engineer to come up with a preservation plan for rehabilitation and reuse that maintains the integrity and contributing status of the adobe structure. The adobe structure proposed as a bathhouse / casita portion of the project is not approved, and PRS would like to see this portion come back for review. The second dwelling unit and garage are approved with the following comments. The north 3-foot 6-inch setback is acceptable. Windows and doors are to be clarified on the plans to be metal clad wood. awnings to be clarified on the plans to be corrugated metal and wood. And lastly, the applicant is to update the plans as needed to reflect the final decision, including removal of the transepts. Roman Signs and Roberto Otero are here to present on the project. This concludes my background of this application. And you will be presenting Romain or Roberto.
Well, I think it's going to be a combination of the two of us.
Okay, let me give you permission 1 second.
Okay, and
Disappeared from my screen.
okay, so we have Robert Otero and Roman Saiz to talk about this. Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there. So thanks for having us again. It's been a rodeo. This is our third visit now, but I think we've revised our plans and gotten what we think you want to see from us. So can I share my screen?
Yes,
Yes,
you can.
just,
I've made you and Roberto or Robert co-hosts.
Okay, great. So I just click on my PDF.
Click on share and then click what you want to share.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Hey, Roman, since you and Robert are in the same room, one of you will have, or Robert may have to mute his mic while you're speaking. Yeah, we're just getting feedback. Thank you.
thanks,
Okay.
Andrew.
Okay, can you see my
No,
plan? No? Okay, you see it?
it's
There you
coming.
go. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so here's our dimension floor plan, and we've changed the entire scope of our proposal to include columns, steel columns in the interior. And let me see, find a better picture here. Here we go. So our columns will be in the inside of the building, and they'll be in each corner. And we'll have beams running across, steel beams with a bond beam on the interior of the adobe, and the roof rafters will rest on top of the beams, and we'll have a shed type roof. So I guess originally the roof was shed type, so we're putting it all back together just the way it was when it was built. Trying to find my cross section here. So here's our roof. Here's our beams. No more CMU on the outside. Each individual post will have its own footing. And I'm trying to find a better picture here. Anyways, I think that that sums it up for me. I don't know if Robert wants to expand on it, but we're going to keep the same plaster that we proposed, and it'll go straight onto the adobe on the exterior. It's a BioLine plaster that breathes well with the adobe. We've got corrugated metal roofing for the roof material. Wood double hung windows. And I believe we're going with the same 10 bright glass on the French doors for the entry door that will match the proposal we have for our second dwelling and the main house.
So are you ready for questions now?
I'll chime in if you can give me a second. I have to unmute and all this.
I'm sorry? Okay, so are you ready for questions now? Can other folks hear me?
Yes, I
Yeah.
think Robert
Yes.
wanted to add
Okay,
something.
go ahead, Robert.
Yearbook.
I can't hear him at all, though.
Sorry, we're new to this technology here.
So I don't have I'm not going to share my screen, but I'll just explain it. I think that what we're trying to get to with the steel posts and the steel beams is, per the last meeting, the point was to keep the integrity of the adobe. With this design, with the steel posts on the inside, the steel beams holding the roof, we don't have to worry about the walls being structural and holding the roof. So that's what the steel is all about. It won't be seen, and now we can go ahead and go with what the building was originally built with as far as adobe. So the adobe is basically like is a facade, so to speak. Does that kind of make sense?
Okay. So Robert, are you now ready for questions?
Sure.
Okay, who would like to begin? Oh, first let me ask Jason something. Did we hear from the barrio on this? Any feedback?
Okay, so for this, Barrio Historical reviewed this on June 9th and July 14th, 2025. And at their June 9th meeting, they recommended continuance for applicant to provide more details. And when it returned on the July 14th, 2025, they made a motion. They recommended approval of the plan as is with conditions, matching the architectural features at the pool house that matches the new house build. And the second condition is eliminate the fire-rated extended wall on the north side of the pool house. That was the extent of their conditions.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now commissioners, will you begin with questions?
Those are the conditions from the previous round, right? There's no longer a
The conditions I just read off?
From last year. They're from 2025.
last year.
So
Okay. Because
yeah,
it's different. It's all different now. Yeah. There's no extended wall and stuff like that.
Right. So the barrio, gave their recommendations. It sounds like some of those recommendations were incorporated by now at this point.
Okay.
Okay, that's important. Okay, go ahead with your comments.
Where does the water that drains off the back, it seems like there's the wall right there. Does it drain onto a neighbor's property, or what's the solution proposed for rainwater to protect the adobe? I don't see that represented in plan.
No, I believe the rainwater is going to stay on Osborne. I don't think we're transferring that water onto the other. There's an overhang on that north side, so we can control that from not going over to the property.
Can you guys hear? I can't hear. It's like I'm getting every other word.
So please speak closer to your microphones on your computer. That would be helpful.
What I was saying is that on that north side, we have an overhang, so we can control that, rainwater not going onto the property to the north.
Control it with what? A gutter and a downspout?
Well, what I mean is we can adjust that overhang so that it doesn't reach the north property line. Yeah, we can control that.
But that's still like 2 feet from the adobe. It's still water pooling back there from what I can tell. I think that's an area of concern.
Also, you're just saying just to create some type of channel on the earth to shed away from the adobe is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of solutions for it, but I mean, and you can decide what to do. I just don't currently see that that condition alleviated by what's proposed currently, right? The shed roof drains to the north, and then there's a wall right there. So I'm just saying it might trap water, and then you're going to have erosion issues with the adobe. So, you know, some sort of gutter system or a drainage system at the ground plane. You know, there's different options there.
It needs to
I
be
don't think
moved
that
away.
was one of the thoughts in the past, was it?
Well, it doesn't matter.
That could just be
the
put in.
comments were.
Yeah, that
You
could
know,
just be put into a note, right? You could just add that note and just make sure that it gets done.
Well, but you have to have a plan for it and somebody that knows what they're doing with adobe. The water has to be moved away from the foundation and daylight out quite a bit, you know, distance, or you can have a French drain, right? Where
Sure.
the water goes somewhere else. But you need to get someone that knows how to construct one of those, and it needs to be on your plans and approved. You know, and I think what we could do is say that we would want Desiree's office to do that if we didn't want it to come back again, or, you know, that's something for the commissioners here in this group to think about. So, okay, what are your other comments?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, whatever the process is, if it's a minor review or we leave it up to Desiree and Jason, I'm comfortable either way. But yeah, I'd want to see something thought through and implemented. Sorry, I was just running through the elevations. There's like a proposed west elevation. You're adding an electrical panel and a water heater to the exterior wall to the adobe. Is that right?
Applicants?
That is correct.
Is there any other solution for that than the exterior wall?
With the limited space on the outside, that's the reason why we chose
Yeah.
the outside. But we can definitely come up with a different option as far as creating some type of stand so that it's not attached to the wall.
I think it would be good to explore other options there just to protect that material. And then all wood, you said wood, it's very difficult to read. Wood windows and doors? All wood? Okay. And then it's a new concrete slab on the interior?
There's not a new concrete slab because there isn't one right now.
It's not a new, you're not going to put in a concrete slab?
We will be putting it, but not a new one. There's not one there. There was never one there.
Right. So you're putting one there. It's not a
correct
replacement. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
And who was the engineer? The structural?
There hasn't been one on there, but it'll be Richard Cormier.
Okay. Will that be a separate set of plans?
Well, it'll be the same set of plans, just with this stamp on it.
Okay. Okay. All right. I mean, I think this is what we were kind of hoping and expecting to see based on the last review we had. So I think that's all my comments. Thank you.
With those considerations,
I'll say one more thing as far as going back to the engineer. So the engineer hasn't stamped yet because we haven't got it approved, but I have been in communication with him as far as the design.
Yeah.
Structure.
It's all good.
He's familiar.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. I mean, I was curious. It's not a lot of engineers have familiarity with Adobe and you know, doing the bomb beam and the steel on the inside. That seems like a good approach. So
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Well, and some, structural engineers without the experience can make recommendations that don't do anything for the integrity of the building. So actually, it sounds like they found someone that understands Adobe. Let's hope so. Okay, who's next with comments?
Terry, this is Joel. I just want to say, I don't have many comments. I was worried about the water coming off the roof also, and but we've taken care of that, so I'm good then.
Okay, Andrew or Blake?
Yeah, I agree with Savannah's comment on the drainage solution, and the only other comment I have is just to update the elevations because they're calling out CMU walls instead of Adobe. So just a quick update.
Great, thank you. Blake?
I don't have anything to add, Terry.
Okay, thank you. Savannah, could you do a motion for us?
Yes. All right, so I was gonna say provide a design solution for the drainage at the north. It's at the north, right? At the north,
Yeah.
the low side is the north elevation. And then Andrew, you said update the elevations for correct materials.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Almost ready.
Okay.
For the agenda. Okay, right. All right, so those will be my only two motions. So I will move on the matter of SD-02225-00018/TC-RES-023, sorry, 0423-04425 at 746 South Osborne Avenue. I move to recommend approval of the project as presented with the following conditions: that the applicant provide a design solution for the drainage at the north elevation to be reviewed and approved by the Historic Preservation Office, and that the applicant update the elevations in the drawing set for the correct, to illustrate the correct materials.
Is there a second?
Second is Joel.
Okay, we'll let Joel do that. Okay, is there discussion of the motion? Okay, if not, I will call roll. Terry votes aye. Andrew?
Aye.
Blake?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Great, thank you. It passes unanimously 5-0. Applicants, do you need a recap of what happens next? Roman and Robert, do you have questions about what happens next?
If you want to give me the recap, that'd be great.
Okay.
So I'm on the same page.
Okay, Jason or Desiree, do you want to do that?
Sure, I can do that. So we will send you the motion that was made. We'll send you the final condition. So we had, motions made from Barrio Histórico and then also PRS. We'll discuss with our director, the PDSD director who makes the final decisions. So once we have the final conditions for this approval, we will send those to you. And then you'll need to update the plans to meet those conditions. And then after that, that's when we can approve as soon as we can confirm that those conditions have been met. So we'll be in touch with you via email with those conditions within the next couple days. All right. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Good work.
Yeah, I had another question and I lost it. That's bad. Hopefully I'll remember it. Okay, we'll move on to item 5B, and that is SD 0326-00035/TD-DEV-0126-0003. It's at 181 West Broadway Boulevard. And Desiree, are you providing background on this?
Yes.
And we do have the comment.
Yes, so we do have a few presenters here. Before I give the background, can I just ask who will be sharing their screen so Jason can make you co-host?
Yes, my name is Tim Smith. I'm an architect with Swaim Associates, and I'll be sharing my screen, but we've got others that will also join in verbally.
Okay, excellent. So the proposed project is to restore and renovate the existing 14-story hotel building. The scope includes providing increased universal accessibility to the building and to the adjacent historic plaza, improving energy efficiency of the building envelope, addressing code and life safety limitations to bring the hotel back into a functional state. The building will be renovated on the exterior, including replacing the doors and windows, restoring metal panels and stucco areas, and replacing roofing. The project includes new landscape and hardscape features. The building's not listed on local or national registers, but it is located within the Rio Nuevo area, and a portion of the project overlaps with the National Register listed Tucson Community Center Historic Landscape. The Historic Landscape Subcommittee, or HLS, conducted a courtesy review of the project on December 18th and March 25th. PRS also conducted a courtesy review for the project on January 8th of this year. So with that, I will hand it over to Tim.
All right, I will share my screen here, I think.
And this is the case where we received public comment as well, so I'll leave it up to you, Terry, when you want to address that.
Okay, perhaps before, well, actually, I think you should just summarize it right now. And we all have the letter and its concern about the windows. Correct?
Okay. Yes.
If you want to just summarize that.
Sure. So the letter was received from the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation, stating first that they believe the Arizona Hotel, the building, the subject building is clearly eligible for historic recognition and its architectural significance is acknowledged in the National Register documentation for the Tucson Community Center. So they emphasize that the building's integrity is important to maintain, and the concerns are particular to the windows. So the glazing is not a minor or interchangeable component. It is integral to the building's contribution to the TCC complex and its broader viewshed. The original glazing was a dark black tone tint, which reinforced the strong geometric grid and gave the facade its characteristic visual weight and contrast. The project, which is proposing a clear or lightly tinted glazing, the letter argues would significantly alter this effect. And they reference the SOI standard 5 related to materials, features, finishes, and standard 6 deteriorated historic features shall be repaired rather than replaced. So I believe that sums up the concerns about the glazing.
Thank you. And before we start, can you remind me, is this case also going to DRB?
Correct.
Okay, and what is the schedule for that? Because lately we've been off the schedule we're comfortable with. Like they review first and then we review. So where does that stand?
That meeting is scheduled for next week, Friday, the 3rd of April. We had a courtesy review from them, but the actual formal review is next week.
Okay. Is that you, Tim, speaking?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I was going to ask one thing. Savannah, please send your motion on that other one to me and Desiree. But yeah, and so this could be complicated. So we need to be sure to mention these things, keep them in mind. And we also have to, the proximity to the TCC complex is really important, and I personally feel that warrants a little bit of extra thought on this one. So go ahead, Tim. Why don't you go ahead and present?
Okay, so I'll run through the project, and we will certainly talk about the envelope of the building. So the existing hotel is right at the on Broadway, but right at the connection of Congress heading west and Broadway heading east. So the existing project is to rebuild the hotel itself, or I shouldn't say rebuild, because obviously the structure is retaining. The interior is being renovated to meet accessibility requirements and current energy codes, et cetera. So as mentioned, this is within the Rio Nuevo downtown zone. So that's where we're going to be going through the design review board process with that. The adjacent Tucson Community Center historic landscape comes right up to the south edge of the property and overlaps a little bit on the east side. So that takes the form of, here's a site plan with that the historic landscape zone next to it. So on the east side, the property line overlaps in the plaza in a couple areas, the historic plaza, as well as on the south side. The south and southwest side, it's really limited to the right-of-way areas and the roundabout within Carlos Arusa. So a lot of the accessibility improvements are happening at the northeast corner of the site. So we'll get into a little more detail. I'll give you the kind of the quick summary of the site, and then we can get a little deeper there. But effectively, we are bringing an accessible route from Broadway, from the sidewalk, up to the lobby level. So that entrance and that pedestrian way is getting updated to be able to get our accessible entrance to the hotel. But along with that, we're going to be adding, it will continue to ramp up and have a pedestrian bridge across to be able to have an accessible route all the way up to the historic plaza. Right now, the existing stairs at the north terminus, obviously they're stairs, not accessible. And then the existing overpass that crosses over Broadway is quite a bit too steep to meet accessibility requirements. So this will give an accessible entrance all the way up to the plaza. It also surrounds a patio dining area. The restaurant for the hotel is going to be right on the inside of that there. So there's glass to connect the dining area to the restaurant. And then obviously we'll get into more detail on how that ramp works. You'll see that with renderings and more drawings there. The north side Port Cachere drive-through access remains the same. The access to parking will end up being this one-way drive that heads down to the parking garage, the Lot C garage from the TCC. There's a parking agreement that has been set up for the hotel to use spaces at that garage. So this one-way drive will allow that access, and it goes underneath the pedestrian bridge access. Along the west side of the property, currently there's a sidewalk, and then there's a private drive next to that. So we're going to be reducing the amount of asphalt and cutting in a landscape planting area across that west side for shade and just have a little bit more pedestrian buffer. And then on the south side, we've had to add 2 egress stairs to get our emergency egress out. So those are happening to the southwest and southeast. And then the mechanical equipment for the project, we have a yard with a screen wall, or a masonry screen wall around it at the southwest corner. Landscape is very limited. Eric Barrett will get into that in a moment, but effectively since our site has a lot of relatively thin planting areas. He's addressed that. Well, I'll get back to that connection. So let's kind of review some of the existing conditions. So right now, this is the north face of the building with the porte cochere. So this is effectively remaining as is. The west side is where we'll be removing these oleanders and putting in a sidewalk or improving the sidewalk and putting in a planting area with a new curb along that.
You want to touch on the porte cochere while you're at this page?
Sure. Yeah. So porte cochere itself, we'll look a little bit at a historic image, but these added elements are stucco, while the rest of the project, these are all sheet metal that's been formed throughout. These were added and they will be removed along the porte cochere as they're not consistent with the rest of the project.
Question, what do you mean by not consistent? They weren't there before?
Correct. Yeah. Back in the photo that we have from the mid 70s, they weren't there. So we'll look at that.
Okay.
A couple more slides down here.
All right.
So this is the north face and the east side. So this is really where, as this fence and retaining wall goes away, this is really where our connection to that dining patio area occurs, and where we will be putting in our accessible path to connect back in here. So we will have a ramp up with a crosswalk, and in that area. This is looking from the historic plaza at the east side of the building. As this is where we will be connecting our pedestrian bridge. So this is the area where the building that was removed used to connect to the plaza, right between the two lights there. So that's where we're going to be cutting back the fencing and tying in our new pedestrian walk. Looking at the porte cochere, the DRB had some questions about some of the paving materials, so we added a few more images about what the existing pavement is. Our new pavement will be gray concrete, so somewhat similar to the adjacent. There is this integral color, depending on the light, whether it's light red or pinkish concrete on the drive lane coming in. And then this is looking at the south side. So at the south, this is the roundabout that falls within the historic landscape. So Eric will address how we're looking at that. That will be retained. And this is kind of just that larger context. The music hall is just off to the right in this image. The historic plaza is behind that fence off to the east with the Flynn behind it. And then the south connection to the hotel. So some additional context, and we can either come back to these or if anybody has any questions. But this is all the east face. Here's a larger view where you can see that the roundabout that's within the district. The south west corner is where there's the satellite dish has been removed at this point, so that's no longer there, but this is where our mechanical screen wall is going, and this is the sidewalk that's getting the landscape next to it. Otherwise, the building is it's pretty clear on how that one comes together. And this one, you can see this northeast corner is where the dining patio will be. So that connection back. And then from Broadway, so you can kind of see this porte cochere up, and where we'll be bringing in our accessible route we're adding a sidewalk and regrading things along this slice, and then that dining patio area fits in up here. So this is looking from the hotel back to the plaza. So you can kind of see the area where the connection to the plaza used to be. So that's where we're going to be tying our pedestrian walkway back into. So this is the photo I was referencing about the condition in the early 70s, and there's a few key components. And I think one of them was referencing the color of the glass and the significance of the verticality there, both with the configuration and the color. You can also see on the porte cochere that it's smooth. It doesn't have those configurations. They were added in stucco. I'm not sure at what point, but while the rest of them are metal, those additions are stucco. So it's easy to see where they don't fit. So one of the significant aspects that we are looking to address is to replace the glass so that we meet the international existing building code requirements for energy efficiency. So currently it's a 1/4 inch, just single glazed glass, and we'll be putting in insulated glazing that meets energy code requirements, as well as updating the mechanical HVAC systems inside. So the other thing that allows us to do is to get the visual configuration back to this dark vertical format. So bouncing back to the current images, the horizontal banding, I think things were repainted at some point, but we will be getting rid of that horizontal banding and just maintaining the existing vertical column covers that are all in metal. And you can kind of see there's a horizontal mullion and then the pairs of vertical mullions. So that's the configuration that we'll be returning it to, along with the new glazing. The frames are obviously need to be thermally broken, but they are a medium bronze anodized finish, so they're similar to the existing aluminum color. So what we're proposing is this configuration. So for clarity, there's these lovely purple areas are potential sign locations. So the sign process has to obviously go through the sign permitting process, but we wanted to have an idea of where that is. Those have not all been worked out, but the DRB in their courtesy review asked for additional sign or clarity on the sign locations. So that's kind of the approach there. But you can start to see how the porte cochere being smooth returns it to where things were. This retaining wall curve and the palm trees are all existing. But then along the west side, we're able to get some landscape in along that edge. Here we're starting to look at the plaza on the northeast side. So this is Broadway on the right there. And we'll look at this plaza from a couple different angles here, but the accessible route comes up from the sidewalk and then over. You can also see the glass that connects it to the restaurant there on the lower level. So our accessible route comes up and around. I'll zoom in just a bit more. And then it starts to take this ramp up to be able to get up to the level of the historic plaza. So this is that pedestrian bridge that crosses over, and then the valet parking access that heads below it and around. So and then this is more eye level view. So from Broadway, you'll be able to see what's going on around that edge. The guardrails around have, we're looking at doing a horizontal cable configuration, because that allows us both to distinctly communicate that this is not historic railing, it's a contemporary addition, but it also allows us to keep it open so that there's visual clarity both on where the path goes and who's on it and what's there, because our goal is to make it an inviting space. So keeping that horizontal, very open configuration is a priority. This is looking at it just from the back, so you can better see. So that's Broadway, and then the bus is out on Congress there. So it's a steel, fairly simple structure for that pedestrian bridge, and then the connection over to the plaza. And then this dining area is set up. They'll be able to have some flexibility on that. Eric will address some of the landscape areas around there. And then this is from the southeast corner. So from the plaza, these are our two egress stairs that we are required to have to be able to get people out. So they will have the same guardrail system, the cable guardrail system. There's also a ramp that accesses back up. You know, as we're bringing the hotel into to be able to use it again, we need to meet the high-rise requirements of the building code. So we've had to add different systems, both mechanically as well as the fire pump, a larger generator, fire command center. So the fire department has provided input on how they want to be able to access the project. And then from the southwest corner, this is where we have added this masonry screen wall around the mechanical equipment. And then the stair kind of tucks in, and then this is that west side landscape. And then the roundabout to the south there as well. So as far as materials, this is included within the submittal for the configuration and the different colors. We can go through the elevations if you'd like. I think based on the comment letter that was brought up, the glass that we're proposing is obviously insulated glass, so it has there's low E coatings on it. So it's not just relying on tint in order to get the configuration that's necessary, or the performance, I guess I would say. The glass that is being proposed has a 51% light transmission. So half of the visible light will come through the glass. So that gives you an idea of how dark the glass itself will be. It's got a reflectance value of 14%. So, you know, as there was concern expressed about how it looks in relation to what's currently out there. So we have tried to render as best we can the reflectance values, but as you all know, depending on light, on the time of day, you know, even looking at these existing photos, there are times when the windows look very dark or reflective. So you've got a dark, but there's other times where, you know, this is the same glass, obviously, just different times of day. You have either it's looking more reflective on one side, or you can see right through it on the other. So while our frame configuration matches what's out there with the three vertical pieces, these horizontals, as the mechanical system is updated, the horizontals get replaced with a vertical configuration. Let's go one more down here. Actually, well, yeah, sure. We'll look at this one. So within that the mechanical unit gets tucked into a vertical corner with a smaller grill instead of having that pronounced horizontal grill. We're able to tuck the grill into a smaller corner of the exterior. So that's where the spandrel glass that we're showing there will hide the mechanical unit behind it. So from the outside, you'll see glass and not realize that there's a mechanical closet behind it. That was one of the ways we were able to not exceed the allowable visible or transparent glass requirements and still maintain the amount of glass that's on the building. So one of the limitations that we were facing was that current code wouldn't allow you to have as much clear glass as this has, but since we were using the applying the International Existing Building Code, it allows us to maintain the amount of glass that you can see through by using the spandrel glass to offset it. So those percentages allowed us to keep the overall visual exterior look.
So Tim, I have a question because this is kind of complex. I mean, going through so many aspects. So in the comment letter, it talks about at yesterday's landscape subcommittee review, the project renderings identified 2 different glazing types, including clear glass, and the writer was concerned about the inconsistency and the use of multiple glazing types. So are all these going to be the same throughout the building, and will they give it that dark view, that dark look to the extent possible?
I believe so, yes. It will change if somebody turns their light on inside or if they've closed white blinds behind the glass. There will definitely be variation. The glass itself is a consistent type of glass, but some of it has spandrel coating on the inside. So just looking at the elevation, so these are the typical guest room configuration. So these that are light blue. This is a diagram. This is not a rendering. So the light blue is where the visual glass is, and then on the side, this is the spandrel glass and an aluminum grill. So that aluminum grill is the same medium bronze coating as the frames. And then the glass of the spandrel glass is the same glass, but has a coating behind it. So that's why we were showing the 2 different types of glazing. It is difficult to have a rendering that one can say with confidence, that's what it's going to look like. Because if you pick a different day or a different sun angle, it changes. So yes, it is, it's glass that only transmits 50% of the light. So it will read as dark. There will be reflectance because it's at, it's 14% reflectance value is what the manufacturer indicates for this glazing type. So we will get that a reflection value, but it is difficult to say that it won't be. It will be somewhat different because it is replacing a single layer of glass with 2 layers of glass in a frame that is thermally broken. Does that answer your question?
Well, so those divisions, are they currently on the building, or is it's a single sheet of glass? I just haven't looked at it that closely.
Yeah. All right. So I'll go to the elevation so you can really see what's what. And let's see here. Yeah. Okay. So let's try this. So right now, let me zoom in a little bit more. The glass, it has the same 3-part section at the top, and then this white panel with a horizontal grill at the bottom. So that's kind of a current guest room configuration. So instead of having this horizontal at the bottom and the large horizontal grill, we'll have a smaller grill that's tucked into the corner. And then all of this will end up being glass within that framed area. So minus the elevation. So what we're looking at is that configuration will allow us to put in modern contemporary mechanical systems for a contemporary hotel but will also allow us to minimize the grill so that the grill blends in more and will allow us to get back to that vertical kind of alternating vertical configuration with the white columns and then the darker glazing configuration.
Okay.
Yeah, Tim, overall, I think you're just trying to maintain the same vertical component that originally was there. It looks like that's what you're putting together.
Correct. Yeah. So the metal column wraps remain, and then the infill gets replaced.
So Blake, you were on HLS yesterday when this was discussed. Was there any discussion of the windows or not? Or
there was a little bit, Terry, and I think the prominent concern was that because the building is, I mean, this hotel is specifically here because it's mentioned in the TCC NRHP listing, right? As being a significant part of the view shed from the plaza, and the glazing, the original glazing being dark black on the building, that any change from that is going to change the view shed. And JJ, Commissioner Lamb was concerned about that being a change to the overall landscape of the plaza, and was mostly concerned that the color be matched as is required by the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation.
And was that part of the motion?
It was not part of our motion yesterday.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The building is outside of the historic landscape zone. So the proximity and the overlap of the property is what brought it in, the landscape overlap.
But the concern about, we need to think about the concern for the view shed, but and you're saying that it's not part of the.
It's not within the historic zone.
But view shed doesn't have to be in the historic zone. You know what I'm saying? It's like a view shed of something, half a mile away. If it's, let's say a significant traditional cultural property. This is
I don't think we're changing the view shed of the. I mean, basically, we're replacing glazing with glazing, just with new modern glazing to address a condition that we have to meet in today's world.
Right.
So
okay. I just wanted to be sure we had a full discussion. So, we probably, because we need some other discussion. Is Eric? We're going to transition to Eric soon. Because I don't want to lose a quorum, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, a reminder, I have to leave at 3. So
yeah, so we'll be down to fewer people, and we still have another case after this. So
landscape wise, we'll just touch on Blake if you want to add anything to this. The main thing was that we're providing a connection for the patio space and the ADA accessible ramp up to the plaza space, which is a dire need of the historical landscape. So that's a critical piece to what we're doing within our project. The reason we're not doing anything south of that is because that's going to be another project in the future. And so that's a whole future building that will be done at a later date. And so we're not addressing any of that at this time. On the south side, the second page, I'm not going to go into like specific landscape items unless you want me to go into that. Besides the roundabout itself, the roundabout itself is part of the historical landscape designed by Garrett Ekbo. That was a kind of a bermed, obviously a turf berm space with palm trees. What we're proposing due to a couple different issues. One, it's in the city right away, can't put turf in the right of way. Second, can't put just monumental turf in the right of way. And third, it's going to be maintained by the client, even though it is part of the city of Tucson. So this project is doing the betterment for the city of Tucson by providing a bermed mound of vegetation to adhere to the historical context of that. We are also we are also specifically not addressing the east side of the roundabout because of the future building that's going to occur at that location. That's why you see no landscape in that location. And you see kind of a downplay of what that treatment is. It's providing ADA accessibility around the roundabout and then providing the access as required for there. Other than that, the rest of the landscape, again, is we're using a live oak, so we've used a historical landscape. We're using pistache to do the historical landscape. We're using very similar palettes to the historical landscape and or the whole overall TCC landscape itself. And last, I'd say on the west side, our biggest item that we had to deal with in addressing was fire and access. And so that's where we transitioned from the oaks to a smaller tree so that they can get fire apparatus up and over those trees to the second, third floor and beyond that. On the north side, there is no fire access due to the fire or due to the street rail.
Okay, Blake, is this consistent with, was HLS okay with the landscape as presented here?
Yeah, I don't think that we had any major comments about the landscape yesterday.
Okay. And I do want to point out, I want to be sure I'm clear. Maria, we need to be sure that this is consistent with adjacent historic properties, correct? It's compatible.
Yeah, Ms. Majeski, members of the PRS, yes, the RNA is not very specific about historic compatibility, but it is mentioned as part of the purview, since
right
site is eligible, the building itself and is within the historic EPO, then it's reviewed by the PRS.
And so I think we have to consider whether or not these changes would affect the eligibility of the building, correct?
That is correct, Ms. Majeski.
Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead.
I think, honestly, I like Savannah's opinion about the glass, and if there's any issue with that, we can talk more, but we also want to make sure you guys plenty of time to go over other items and other issues. So we have 3 different boards reviewing this, and we're trying to address everyone's needs.
Yeah, so I think we should hear from Savannah because she has to get off at 3.
I'm sorry, guys. I wish we could keep discussing. Well, the notes I made. So, okay, so I love the efforts at the plaza and the connection. My questions there, and it's going to be out of everything I've seen so far. The curved pedestrian ramp that you see from the street, what is that concrete or?
Sure. Yes.
Painted concrete. I was just curious about that.
Yes, there are all of the retaining walls along the plaza are concrete. So yes, we're looking at a concrete wall for that. We are painting the walls around the building itself, but are not proposing to paint the retaining wall along the plaza.
Is that just exposed concrete then?
Yes, painted exposed concrete. Yes.
Existing. Okay.
Well, the one on the west is or the west side of the plaza.
Okay. And actually, since you have it up,
sorry, I just changed it.
It's okay. Well, it's the same. Like it's you're connecting with the building, is there going to be a gate? Like, does it have to be secured? I guess I'm asking
Sure.
because the picket fence
Yeah.
doesn't,
All
I
right,
don't know, it's not great, right? Does a picket fence have to stay?
Oh, at the plaza?
Yeah.
So we're taking it out right where our connection's happening.
Uh-huh.
And then our new guardrail's going in, but it's just the 42-inch tall guardrail. So there is a kind of a meeting of the existing fence, and then we're removing it right where we're connecting.
I think it'd be great if we maybe at least that extra section of picket fence or something could go away, or some transition there that's not as I don't know, awkward. You know what I mean? And now there's just like a tall
Like
picket. Yeah.
removing that portion of it.
Something to think about. I don't know if that would be in conversation with the city to continue the guardrail or something like that.
Would it be an issue to continue our guardrail across that? Because it is, I think it's this
Big
area.
drop.
So,
It's a big drop.
oh yeah, we absolutely need a guard
I'm asking about, yeah, guard instead of fence, but
instead of a tall fence.
it just looks awkward. That's all. As for the glass, I mean, you can get, when you go through your glass layer specification, I wonder, you can get different kinds of gray. I wonder if, you know, different options there might work. It's hard to tell when you're just like looking on the computer screen or running numbers. And so one thing I thought was maybe if there was like a section to mock up or something like that, so that everyone who's concerned about it, which includes me, like I would like to see it match as closely as possible with a darker version, more compatible with the original design intent. So lights again. So I don't know, perhaps a mock-up of different glass options, adding that gray tint, possibly, was my suggestion there. And then the only question I had on that, if there's going to be window shades, roller shades, block-out blinds, all that kind of stuff, because that has a huge, huge appearance on the facade when everyone's got their blinds
for sure
at different heights, especially if they're white on the backside.
It is a hotel. There absolutely will be both blackout blinds and then like a partial screen type of blind. So there's both of those. You know,
is it on every pane?
Absolutely, yeah. Every single guest room will have it. The lobby and such won't, but the guest rooms will all have it. So I mean, this is the effect minus any blinds whatsoever. But each guest room will have separate individually, you know, controlled guest blinds, if that makes sense.
I think that's something for all of us to consider. I know there's not a lot of solutions for that necessarily, but there might be some that are less visually impactful.
So Savannah, if you were making the motion, and you won't be making the motion because you'll be off, so these are suggestions that you would like to see in a motion that you made?
I think just some way to test solutions regarding the glass and the blinds, so that we can ensure as close compatibility with like the historic visual intent as possible. Something like that, right? Just so that we walk away knowing that we kind of maybe revisit some of these ideas, so that there's solution in place that's the best option.
Okay, Andrew, are you noting these? Because I will ask you to make the motion.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a few more minutes, but I'm done. I'm done for now. I'm anxious to hear what others have to say.
Okay. So who else would like to comment? Because you have to get off in 2 minutes, you said, at 3?
Yeah, just about.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add, Terry, apart from, you know, making sure that we're matching as closely as we can. So just reiterating what Savannah's already said.
Okay. Andrew?
Yeah. First of all, this is a great project. I'm really excited to see it come back to life. I think you've done a really great job with it.
Thank you.
The primary questions I have are on the east facade where that kind of vestigial building was removed and there's just a big hole.
Right.
I think this is the case. You're kind of creating the pilasters there because there's nothing there right now, right?
Yeah, they got destroyed. Yes. So let's see. I think I've got an image of that condition. Well, you can kind of see it from here.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of see it, but yes, we will be continuing those down, so that they're filled back in, because they're kind of hacked off. So then we'll infill the below with glass. So it's really going to match the north facade. We'll just wrap that configuration around so that it's consistent.
Okay.
Glass and
Beautiful.
doors. There are doors to that patio space as well.
Okay. Can we,
Yep.
yeah, if we can look at that shot. Okay,
Yep.
and you're keeping that same kind of three-part pattern with the larger middle section, it looks like. So
Right. Yeah. So that horizontal wraps around and stays consistent. So
okay.
This section is the part that's missing. So we'll just continue it both vertically and horizontally, and then infilling the glass just like it is on the north.
Okay.
The north configuration.
Okay. On that curved concrete wall, I think we could maybe distinguish it a little bit more because there is a curved concrete wall on the other side of the building.
Yeah. So the west side.
Yeah, and
That's
just a painted concrete.
Correct.
And so I know you said you weren't gonna paint this concrete.
Well,
right?
we will be painting that,
Or
but it is
the new one.
right. So the
Right.
new one will be similar to this existing one that's on the northwest.
Okay. Yeah, that's the only hesitation I have is just that that new wall would be interpreted kind of as a, you know, original like historic wall. Aesthetically I like them matching, but I'm curious what other commissioners think if there should be maybe like a different texture to the concrete or a different treatment there, so that it's a little more obvious that it's new. But um, I don't feel strongly either way. So I'm curious what other commissioners think. But other than that, I think all the landscape looks great. The mock-up idea from Savannah, I think, is great. That would probably help assuage some of the concerns that people have. And I feel your pain on trying to get glass to render the way you want it to. It's like impossible. So, but the physical samples will help for sure. And you may even be able to take like a tint meter or something to those existing windows and kind of see what light transmittance values are there. If you haven't done that already, that may help kind of back up the decision for the values that you're using for the new glazing. So that's the extent of my comments. I'll turn it over to either Joel or Terry.
Joel, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, I'm a little confused. There's no question that the horizontal, this is in relation to the glass, that the horizontal pieces between the vertical columns are going away. Is that a fair statement? Or they're gone?
Yes, this component, the horizontal component, is going away and being replaced by glass.
Okay. As long as we're doing that, I can't disagree strongly. I think it's a great improvement and obviously clearly closer to the original just to have the vertical uprights there. And in terms of the tint of the glass, I don't mind it the way it is, but I defer always to the professionals. So if we can, use a tint meter or mock up, I wouldn't be against that. But otherwise, I like the return to the original verticality of it. So that's my only comment.
Okay. I just want to be sure, did Savannah jump off and put her down as leaving at 3? I think so.
I think so.
Okay. Sounds good. So do we have anything else before we list some things in for a motion? Considering with the points that she raised about the picket fence and maybe a different kind of railing there?
Yeah, I agree. This is Joel again. I certainly we should look at it maybe.
Okay. Andrew, do you feel like do you have any other questions, or do you feel like you can put something together for us to mull over?
Yeah, I think I got it. So it's the two conditions. It's a mock-up of the proposed glazing for comparison to the existing glazing, and then consider replacing a portion of the existing east side security fence with the new cable railing. And that's really the extent of it, right?
Savannah was hoping that, and tell me if I'm wrong, Eric and Tim, just to get rid of that picket fence and match it with some kind of other railing.
I think what's in question is just that piece that goes from the fountain south to what we're tying into would be what we look at. I mean, you got to keep in mind, we do have a significant fall. It's a good 10 feet transition. So this area does get a fair amount of transient activity. And that's actually one of the main reasons we're trying to engage this northern patio space and engage the water feature itself to help appease some of those issues there. So going south, we would keep the existing fence as is until a future project is moving forward.
Yeah, I think just that section alone will help tremendously to kind of visually open that connection up.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, cool.
I think so too. And there's one other thing. No, I can't remember. Go ahead.
How do you feel about the new curved concrete wall here, Terry, looking similar to the existing one on the opposite side?
I think good? they could consider some ways to differentiate that wouldn't be too stark. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's slightly different texture or if that would look incongruous with the rest.
Yeah.
It's pretty separate. It's pretty separate, so it could have a slightly different look, but I'm not sure what that would be unless you have some ideas, you or Blake or Joel.
I don't either, and I don't feel super strongly about it, so I think I'll leave it out of the motion, and they can just take it as a comment.
Okay.
So already, let me just get my TC numbers and everything going. Okay. On the matter of item 5B, SD 0326-00035 / TD DEV 0126-00003 at 181 West Broadway, I move to recommend approval of the project as presented with the following conditions. 1, to provide a mock-up of the proposed glazing for comparison to existing glazing to ensure compatibility. And 2, to consider replacing a portion of the existing east side security fence with new cable railing at the new connection.
Okay, so those are the conditions. All right, is there a second?
This is Blake. I'll second.
Blake. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Is there discussion? I just wanted to point out just really quickly, I don't know if Eric or Tim, if you've ever stayed at a Citizen M hotel. Do you know about them? They're now owned by Marriott, but they're mostly European. And so I've stayed in them in Scotland and in France and in the Netherlands. And they have these great things. They're these tiny rooms, but everyone loves it because it's just the vibe of the hotel, right? But they have these blackout shades that automatically go down at night. Like when you turn the lights out, they go down, right?
Oh.
So it's just, and I was just thinking, if I walked outside the hotel at night, it would be a very different presentation than during the day when it's up, right? And when the lights are on. So it's kind of a fascinating thing. Nice looking buildings, very modern and stuff. So I think when you were talking about the blackout shades that you have to have in a place like this with the visibility to the sun, right? So I think that will help too. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. Any other comments before I call the motion? Call the vote. Okay. If not, I vote aye on the motion. Andrew?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Blake?
Aye.
Great. Okay, so the motion passes 4-0 with Savannah gone.
And Terry, this is Jason. Andrew, when you send the motion, could you CC me on it? Since Desiree has moved on to another meeting, I need to get this to Maria for next week's DRB meeting.
Yeah. Do you want me to CC Maria as well?
Yes,
If
please.
you've got her email, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then and me as well as Desiree and Jason and Maria. So that would be perfect. And then the rest of you will see it in the LAR. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
All right. Well, thank you for this really reinvigorating this building.
Thank
I
you.
think it's really important. And sorry about the hard questions, but I really like to give credence to, a carefully thought out comment letter. It's not like we just hate the project. It's like, think about these things, right? So don't be upset with us for asking hard questions. So thank you.
I have a question
Sure.
real quick. Actually, Blake, someone was talking when you pronounce your last name, and I do not want to pronounce it wrong ever again. So can you tell me what you said yesterday? How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Houghton.
Houghton.
If you were going to write it out phonetically, it would be Hoeton.
Okay,
Houghton.
thank you.
Easy to remember since we're in landscape and you
Oh yeah,
need one
all
of
good. I
those.
just literally, you said it and someone said something right when you said it. I'm like, great. Now I'm gonna always get it wrong still. So thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Eric. I appreciate you double checking.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, guys. And we will, I'm sure we'll see you again, and good luck with the project. And so Maria, that gets you what you need.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks everyone, and everyone that was on to this case. So, okay. So we will move, since Desiree had to leave at 3, we can, ask Jason for things if we need them, but we'll move on to case 5C, which is at 212 East 17th Street. And it is in the Armory Park Historic Preservation Zone. And Jason, can you give us a little background on this, please?
Yes, I can, and I'll try to keep this brief, but there has been a lot of information on this proposed project. So first, the proposed project is construction of an attached single-story garage at the west side of the existing single-family residence. The non-contributing carport at the rear property line is proposed for demolition. Also proposed is replacement of the existing wood and metal fencing on the south and east sides with the vertically oriented rusted corrugated metal panel fence and a new metal gate at the alley. The applicant is also seeking approval for an as-built wood picket fence on the north side of the property. Now, this underwent a couple of conditions at the Armory Park Advisory Board meeting on December 12th, 2025. There were 2 motions that were made at that December meeting. The first motion was to recommend approval of the project as presented with the following conditions. Number 1, a garage stucco finish to be close to, but not matching the house design and the stucco pattern. Number 2, the design elements on the top parapet on all 3 sides, front and back, be removed. Number 3, the fence along the alley to be a maximum of 6 feet high. Number 4, single man door off the garage be a 4-panel wood door. Number 5, setbacks be waived. Number 6, provide additional information on the type of light fixtures to be used on the front and the back, and back return as a minor review. That motion passed unanimously. The second motion made Mr. Recommended continue the review of the applicant to provide the following items. Number one, owner provides information on any modifications that were made to the house, in particular windows and doors. Number two, submit plans for the back porch and front fence that were constructed without prior historic review, approval, and/or permitting. So that came back, and at the Armory Park meeting that was held March 17, 2026, 1 week ago, the following recommendation was made: to recommend approval of the existing fence, although it's not historically appropriate and should not set a precedent. Second, and recommend against approval of the vinyl windows located at the north and east sides of the house, with the understanding that any future proposed replacements will need to be approved through the minor historic review process. That motion passed unanimously. Gabriel Vargas is here to present on the project. This concludes my brief background.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Go ahead and share screen. You're now co-host.
All right, excellent. Let me get that going.
Yeah, Gabriel, I'm still not seeing it. Or there it comes.
Okay, excellent. All right, thank you, Jason. Thank you, Tucson Historical Commission Plans Review Subcommittee and members of the public joining here today. As Jason mentioned, we're here to present garage addition to a single-family residence located in Armory Park Historical Zone. Within this proposal, he did mention that we are gonna demolish a non-contributing carport at the south end of the property, replacing a portion of the existing fence on the south and east side of the property, and addressing some improvements that were done on the property from a previous owner without a formal review on these changes. And so I'd like to go through each individual points that we just discussed and then final it out with describing the garage. The first item is demolishing the non-contributing carport. It appears that this carport, which if you can see the site plan, is on the southeast corner, abutting the setbacks. This is a structure based off of area that we could see was built sometime in the 90s. It's not a contributing structure, and a lot of our records that we were able to pull, there was no indication that there was a permit pull for it. It is constructed of nominal lumber, and I'll show you some pictures here. This is the carport here from looking to the east view. It's a wood framed, and it's been hodgepodge over the years where they've added this small shed and taken some of these columns, popped them out, and try to give it some character. And it looked like this was access through the alley at some points, but we're not sure of that. So that's what we're proposing to demolish. Now, as far as the fence goes, since we're on this image, this is the south and the east fence. So this is the south end and the east end fence. So the owner would like to replace this south fence mainly because there is an abundance of material. You have chain link, you have some wooded pickets, and you have some older wooded pickets over here. And then on the east end, there's chain link where they have visibility to their neighbor's yard. And so we are proposing to add a steel frame fence that is 6 feet tall with corrugated panels set vertically with a rusted finish. Now moving on to some of the site improvements, or some of the improvements that were done without any formal review or consent with any of the historical committee. First off, it seems like there was this fence, or actually this property was bought in 2004, it looks like. And they decided to do improvements prior to reselling it in 2005 to our client, Nicole Marslack. And so previously what they had was this chain link fence that was facing the frontage with kind of a side gate and then a main gate portal for vehicle entry. This next picture right here, which was taken in 2004, actually it was 2005. We got this from Google, and it seems like that was a time that they started removing this chain link, the chain link fence, but they actually left the poles. And so what they did in this design, they fabricated some steel panels. It looks like some 2x2 steel stock, and then welded some lattice in between, and welded it onto those existing posts. That side fence is about 3.5 feet tall, actually 4 foot from that finished grade. And it's fully transparent, so it conforms with the design guidelines of the historic Armory Park Historical Zone. But as Jason mentioned, it's a little more modern, and it's not verbatim as a historical fence will look like. In addition to that alteration, there were some windows on the back of the house that were changed, and so courtesy of Zillow and other real estate websites, there was a door that was added to a water closet room. And so before I go a little deeper, this was all built in 1981. So this was an addition, and it wasn't original to the property. And so what was actually built was we had a 2x3 window at the shower. We had a man door that exited from the water closet. They added a mechanical room, and then they added this back area door to access, which is not a sliding glass door, but it's actually a man door with 2 side lights. And then they added another window out to the east of the property, which was previously a slider, but was replaced with a hung. And so the main concerns were within this area. We did know that in the Zillow images from the 2024 purchase that the window, actually the door to the water closet was eliminated, and hung window was added in place of the man door. We also see that this window in the shower, which was previously a slider, was also replaced with another slider. All of these windows being vinyl windows, which are not allowed in the historic in the Armory Park historical zone. In addition, this window to the east is a hung window. However, it is a vinyl window. I think the only thing that I had going for it, it looks like they salvaged screen from somewhere else and added it in the exterior. There was concerns of this window above the kitchen sink. I'm not sure if this was modified at one point or not, but existing is a wooden hung door, which conforms with the design guidelines. And so for these, what we're proposing is for these 3 windows to be replaced on a later date, one of the things that we're looking at is that this was done in 81. And so a lot of the characteristics of these sizes, you won't see on, for example, a hung window. So we have this hung window on the water closet, which I think the only thing that's not really going for it is that it's a vinyl material. And so we're looking to replace it with a solid wood or wood flat. The window by the shower, that is a slider which is not allowed by the design guidelines at Armory Park. And so this would have to be a custom window, and we're looking for it to be a casement, as a picture window would not be allowed. Given the fact that this is in a shower, we are also investigating the parameters as to what we will do in a wet area, introducing wood material. Most likely what would happen is we'll probably propose an aluminum with wood clad in the exterior. And this east window would actually be replaced with another hung window that's either a wood clad or a solid wood window. Currently the homeowner is getting some pricing and finding solutions as to which direction we're gonna go. So now there was another violation or another concern, which was this porch, and so one of the concerns was that in the assessors, it seemed like it was a new porch, but we later found out recently that this porch was included in the addition in 81. And I pulled up these as-bills that we got a few weeks ago, and actually show that back porch right here. So now going to the main reason, which is the garage. That garage is it's recessed back from the right of way. And so from street frontage, it's not really visible per se. On the entryway, we have a fence with a structure above it, kind of looking like a porte-cochere, if you will. And so this is the actual entry elevation from the right of way. And so as you can see, visually, you really don't see the garage. We're proposing the garage to be no taller than 12 feet. It's actually 11'4". It'll be 12 from grade as zoning likes to set the heights. And so the idea is that we're not overpowering the main structure visually, and it's not superimposing it, if you will. The whole garage is proposed to be an independent structure from the actual dwelling. So it will have its own footing and its own walls, and nothing load bearing would be on the existing structure. Where this new garage sits in relative to the existing structure is going to be adjacent where the expansion was done in 1981. So the original structure from the 20s is not actually being impacted. Some of the key aspects is the roof drainage is going to be draining to the west end, and the site is actually sloped. Let me show the site plan. The site is actually sloped. Slopes out to the right of way, going 17th, and then towards the back here, there's another area that slopes to this alleyway. The garage is to be accessed from the right of way into the main gate, and so you have 2 tiers of gates, if you will. The existing garage or the garage door we're proposing is gonna be a sectional garage, which is very common in the Armory Park zone. Going to be solid, painted the same color as the structure, which is gonna be a wood frame, synthetic stucco finish. Painted the same color as the house is currently, which is going to be this white. In addition to that, I should mention that we are gonna have the scuppers that are where we have the drainage to the west end. And then there is going to be another garage that goes through the back area to the backyard. So it's gonna be a double portal garage. And then a man door on the side of the garage to enter the house. So the garage will not have access to the main dwelling through the interior. It'll be solely on the exterior. This door is not visible from the right of way from street view or anything like that. We do have an alleyway in the back. It's not visible either way. We are specifying a 4-panel door. With that, I think I conclude my presentation and I am open for questions.
Okay, Gabriel, I just wanted to ask, so Armory Park mentioned that the door into this standalone garage would be a certain, what was that again, Jason? Was that a double panel door? Or they don't like the multi-panel one?
Okay, let me go back to it.
Just so we understand.
They made a motion to recommend approval of the project as presented with the following conditions. A single man door off the garage be a 4-panel wood door.
And that's what he's showing.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, and then what is the no design element on the parapet? Have they been removed? The design elements?
It has been removed, yes, ma'am. And that was, so I'll take you back to the main street elevations. There was this architectural feature with some of these clay tiles that are embedded into the adobe of the existing house. We had added that accent on the garage that has now been taken out.
Okay, then the other thing was, what was the concern with the stucco?
So the stucco, we had proposed to match the existing dash finish of the dwelling, which is an adobe dwelling, and so through the one of the concerns was that it would be matching or I guess mimicking too close the existing historical dwelling versus the new structure. And so now we're proposing a synthetic finish, sand finish for the stucco. I can show you that on the plans.
Okay, and Jason, they were okay with the metal fence, right?
You mean on the front?
Just what the comments that, that's
so it just says,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, from what they said, and it says to recommend approval of the existing fence, although it's not historically appropriate.
But to mention that it's okay, but not a precedent, because this, is this a zoning violation case?
It's not.
Okay.
There were concerns from Armory Park that they noticed that there was some improvements that never reached out to the committee. And so as far as the fence goes, the design guideline, as the design guidelines state, you got to have a 4-foot fence minimum with full transparency of the yard. However, they do recommend certain materials, one of them being like a white picket fence or wrought iron.
And so what Armory Park felt was that this was more of a modern approach, and aesthetically, it doesn't really match the fabric of the neighborhood. But given the circumstances that the homeowner wasn't aware of these modifications and were non-conforming to Armory Park, Armory Park has made somewhat of an exception.
Well, and then they said that some of the vinyl windows could stay, but they would have to be.
We got to go back and review it at a later date.
Sorry. Okay. All right. Because it was unclear, because often we don't see plans updated after the Historic Zone Advisory Board review. It's very confusing, Jason, when we don't know that we're reviewing the same set of plans, right? So that's why I asked those questions. So, okay, who else has questions?
Well, Terry, that's my question is, are we seeing plans that have made the corrections at the Armory Park?
I think we are, because the door with the 4 panels is there. Is that true, Gabriel? You've made all these changes?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay.
We are seeing the revised plans.
Thank you.
Okay. Who else has questions?
So just to be clear, the window replacement, we are not reviewing at this time. That's going to come back as a minor review, correct?
That is correct.
That's what they're recommending, but we haven't recommended that as well.
Okay.
Right?
To just be clear, it says that they recommend against approval of the vinyl windows, with the understanding that any future proposed replacements be a minor historic review. So it doesn't sound like they're asking that they be immediately replaced, just sometime in the future.
But are they already replaced on this plan?
On the north and east sides, yes, they are replaced with vinyl. And he was showing that on the rear elevation.
Okay. All right. Other questions from any of you?
No.
Blake, Andrew?
I don't think. Oh, can you clarify what the setbacks are that you're asking for on the garage, just so we can get it in the motion?
Yeah, so the required setback is 8 foot, and we're going to be at 6'2".
Okay, and it looks like you're good everywhere else. Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Andrew?
I don't think so. I'm just getting it typed out.
All right, Joel, do you have anything else? Or Blake? No?
No, I think that since we're looking at revised plans, it's fine.
Okay. Okay, so Andrew's putting together a motion.
Although while he's putting it together, in Armory Park, do they allow chain link fences in the front? It seems like a lot of houses there have that feature. Does anybody know the answer to that?
Ireland, I could say that no, they're not approving them nowadays. But if they were put at some time ago in the past, they've been grandfathered in.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Good deal.
Okay. So Andrew's getting this ready for us.
Okay, so I've got garage stucco finish. Front fence is okay, even though it's not an appropriate style. West setback from 8 foot to 6'2", and then the newer vinyl windows on the rear of the house are not compatible, and a replacement plan should be submitted in the future. Does that wording sound okay? So we're not saying they have to replace them, just noting that they aren't compatible and they should be replaced.
Does that coincide with what Armory Park said, Jason?
That is correct, Chair. I do just want to note that both this motion and what Armory Park said, there's no time limit on the future date of replacement. I don't know if you want to make that into the motion or not.
We could. I don't know how
No, I would leave it.
enforceable that would be.
Yeah, and you guys, Jason, you and Desiree do that if you want to. But I mean, that's not a good plan. You know, and we do need, it needs to be said that, you know, sort of a discussion of why it's okay to keep those vinyl windows. You know, so. Okay. So I think that sounds good to me for your motion.
Wasn't there something on the garage door? Or no, that's just that man door, right? That Armory Park commented on.
Yeah, and that we agree with the thing. See, the problem is that normally we would both review the same plans and not have these corrections in there, because now it's like approving of the revised plans as submitted with these additional things, because then that would indicate that we were okay with Armory Park's revisions, but that's not how the system works. You know what I mean? Like, what if the planning director didn't approve of those revisions? Because, you know, both groups hadn't weighed in. So that's what it's concerning to me. Does that make sense? So you could say that the door is okay, is changed in the revised plans or whatever. Like, we don't know what the design element on the parapet was that was removed. So confusing to me.
So I think I'll do it. I'll add language in the motion there, just indicating that we reviewed revised plans.
Very good. I think that's smart.
Okay. Alrighty. Let me get my my SD number in here and I'll be ready. Okay. On the matter of item 5C, SD 1125-00168/TCRES1125-05399 at 212 East 17th Street, I move to recommend approval of the revised plans as presented with the following conditions. 1, that the garage stucco finish is to be differentiated from the original house stucco finish. 2, that the front fence may remain, although it is not historically appropriate in style. 3, that the west setback reduction from 0 feet or from 8'0" to 6'2" is acceptable. And 4, that the newer vinyl windows on the rear of the house are not compatible and a replacement plan should be submitted in the future.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Blake. I'll second.
Okay, is there further discussion? Okay, if not, Terry votes aye. Andrew?
Aye.
Blake?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Great, so it passes 4-0, and you'll send us that motion. Andrew, thank you.
Yep.
And Savannah not present. Gabriel, do you need Jason to go over what the next steps are, or just to contact you? Or you could contact him if you have questions.
No, ma'am, I'm fine.
Oh, perfect. Okay, well, thank you and good luck with the project.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye now. Okay, so let's go on to item 6 and try to move through this quickly. Current issues for information discussion. 6A, minor reviews.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So it has been busy, and the PRS member can definitely attest to all this. There has been 5 minor reviews. There was one in El Presidio. There was also one in Armory Park, and then 3 that just recently got approved in West University. And those are all the minor reviews that have come through this office at this time.
Great. And were you helping, Andrew?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, 6B, appeals.
There's nothing to update on any appeals.
6C, zoning violations.
There are no zoning violations to update you on.
No new ones? Okay.
No new ones.
Okay, and then item 6D is review process issues. We have had a couple cases where we gotta think on what we're reviewing, and I don't know if that's something that you advised him to do or he just did on his own, Jason, after the review last week by Armory Park.
That I did not advise on.
Yeah.
And also too, this had come from their December 12th meeting. So I believe he made the revisions on his own, and that was being handled by Michael Daku before he left, and so I inherited that. I had no idea that the design package had been revised according to those December 12th recommendations.
Yeah, and see, you can see our confusion because what if you all, when you were looking at both sets of our recommendations, didn't approve, didn't agree, let's say with that 4-panel door. So, and we're seeing it for the first time, but it wasn't before. We might have liked the other one. Who knows? Who knows? But that's why I asked those seemingly impertinent questions.
No, I understood, and it's something that I try to emphasize to people. And we had that recently at a board meeting. They said, do not revise. You're just going to present the same plans. Actually, you looked at it as 5491 East Placita del Mesquite. They did not revise it. He saw unchanged.
Okay, very good. Anyone else on review process issues?
No.
Andrew?
No, not really. I think the last case was kind of interesting in terms of how we handle like violations committed by previous owners. I don't know that that's the way we've always handled it, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to give people some reprieve.
Yeah, I think we have in the past, and I think part of the problem is that some realtors either don't understand or a previous owner is not going to disclose. I mean, I had that when I bought my property in Tucson in 1990, all sorts of non-disclosure, that really bit me in the fanny later. And so, and that's not really, the Historic Preservation Office's issue. It's just unfortunate. But also, I really apologize for the length of this, but Desiree and I really went back and forth on this, and it just, we look at these estimated times as optimistic, hopeful things. But I mean, there's no way that once we get this detailed letter from Demian on the Arizona hotel that we could, review it in 25 minutes. It just was a big project. So I really thank you for your help and attention. So if there's no other things on item 6, Jason, do you have any idea about item 7, future agenda items?
I certainly do. It will be a full one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items set for the April 9th meeting. One is going to be a solar car park. Another one is going to be an ADU. The third one would be about a driveway gate in a Ramada. The fourth one will be a new duplex model, which PRS had seen before at the January 8th meeting, and he continued it to come back with more additional information. So you'll be hearing that one. And the other one will be regarding a new carport.
Okay, when Desiree sends me the draft agenda, we usually talk about it. I would just request that you put one on there that could be held off if we decide we only can deal with 4.
Understood.
Yeah, and it really depends. Now, is everyone on this call presently going to be available on that date?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Okay, me too. But
this is Joel. I'll be there.
Yeah, we just have to be sure we have a quorum. And, really, I like to try to keep a meeting to 2 hours. This is excessively long, but we couldn't really avoid it, right? We just need to get through these things. So, but thank you. And so we will then be adjourned at 3:48. But let me know, Jason, or just ask Desiree to let me know when she might anticipate the agenda coming in.
Okay, I'll certainly give her that message.
I mean, the LAR, yeah. Anyway, Thanks so much, everyone, and take care. 3:40, what did I say? 3:48.
3:48.
Yeah.
Have a good
Thanks,
day,
Terry.
everyone.
Bye.
guys.
Thank you.